you are not a bad person. You just made a mistake. That's it. A lot of people have a very poor relationship with mistakes. Those little things, when we don't forgive ourselves for them, we don't reconcile them, they compound over time. The things that were harder for me to forgive about myself or things that I did, it wasn't necessarily the thing itself as much as the compounding of years of unresolved, I guess, experiences I had not forgiven myself for. Dad, welcome to the next episode of the Uli and Uly show.
Well, I think we have fun last time.
Yeah, I think so too. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Today I'm tired, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Okay, to get here I got traffic, and it was like one of those days when you got something you don't expect. Oh, by the way, am I using the same shirt that I used last time?
I don't think so.
Okay, you don't want to use the same shirt.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, well, I'm good. No, beside that, stress from the traffic, everything's great.
Oh, good to hear. Do you like my new setup?
Yep. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Look at
I
that.
just threw it together right before we started because this mic needs to be a little closer to my mouth. Also, fun fact, I'd never told you this, but I found out last time after we recorded that my mic was never recording.
Oh, so how do you pick out the voice?
I had to use your mic, all of your mic, and so my voice doesn't sound the greatest on the last one,
Oh, okay.
but it still works.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to do it. Okay, we'll improve then
Yeah.
for this time.
Oh yeah, we're getting better, I think, every single time.
Have you felt better about it? Or
Better.
do you feel bad about that?
For maybe 10 seconds.
10 seconds? Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there were a couple of times I'm like, it would have been better if the mic, like as I was like listening to it, I was like, it would have been better if the mic had been working. But, we made the best,
Yeah,
the best we could with it.
well, that's all about, that we can make the best.
Yeah, plus it was a good experience last time. It was still nice talking to you.
Yeah, it was, to me too, I reflect on some of the things we discussed. And I still got things that I think has been beneficial, that I still resound from the conversation.
Yeah, it's actually same. Definitely same. So completely unrelated to the topic we're going to talk about today. But we went and watched the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 this week. How'd you like it?
Oh man, I have fun. I love. Okay, which one's your favorite character was there?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think I just like them as a group. And I think one of the things I like about them is they seem more relatable.
Mm-hmm.
All of them have faults that are very apparent, but they're still able to do good. They're still able to go and, save the day. And so I think I like them as a group.
Yeah, I like the group. I like the dog.
The dog.
He was so
Yeah.
funny. But something that about what you just say, no? You have a number of people that have different opinions. There is different pain that everybody carries. A lot of different, in the characters, different issues related to their early life, mostly, okay? Or some of the mistakes probably that's been made in the past. And finally they were able to communicate, properly what, their struggles were. And some were able to really relate to, this is something that, end up with a better day for everybody. And hopefully we can learn from this.
Uh-huh.
Because we don't do the same. Many times we just don't communicate what's happening, or we are not willing to understand what the other person feels. And that, then we cannot end up like these heroes. At the end, a better day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, going into the actual topic of today. So today we're going to talk about forgiving ourselves. Last time we talked about forgiving our fathers. Today we want to go into forgiving ourselves.
Should I go? and trying to reconcile my things in the other room before I come back here?
Maybe, no. So, Dad, how often do you think you need to forgive yourself? Personally, how often do you think you find yourself needing to forgive yourself?
It is really hard to, give a number or a time or a season to do it, because there are so many mistakes that we make along our life. Some mistakes, we fix it right away. No.
Mhm.
Some we perhaps leave it for later, and then later never comes. Some we think we're exempt from because we were right. No. And then, of course, we don't confront the facts in regard to whatever the story is, the experience or our behavior. And sometimes we think that we are, we think that we can kind of avoid the consequences, and all this very reason why we're reasoning about, it creates a little problem because the experiences, the mistakes, are not being ever forgiven by the memories in our mind. So it's going to be there. So literally, as we grow and become more mature, as we become more wise, as we learn through experience, or maybe as we've been put against the wall, suffering to just finally figure, hey, we do have to take care of this.
I'm sure you have lots of experiences of forgiving yourself, but what's a particular experience that you have that you don't mind sharing about forgiving yourself?
Oh, that's like, I got a lot of them. you know, um, some decisions we make, that is, they probably are not the best choices that we make. And of course, when it happens, we're gonna feel that in our body, the the consequences of those choices. We feel it. No, it doesn't matter how old we are. We could be 9 or we could be 100 years old. So, there are events in any type of mistake we make, intentionally, unintentionally, whatever the case might be. No, it does bring negative effects. And if we hold it, which means we don't try to solve it or reconcile, it will do something to us. It will lower our enjoyment of life. So that's why these memories are in our body. No, that's why these memories are the mistakes they're here, because our body has a high level of intelligence, and it wants to help us to enjoy life. No, so these memories arises, and of course, if we don't take advantage of those emotions that comes along, which could be a feeling of guilt, this can result in anger, internal anger, can result in being upset, can result in resentful, being resentful. So it's important that we kind of do this. Now, going back to your question, yeah, okay, there is many, but I'm going to bring one. Okay, I was a little kid, maybe about 9 years old. And I was sent to the store. Okay, my father sent me to the store and said, go to the store, which was just not far away, buy this. It gave me a bill, the currency of X amount of money. I go and do the buying. And the man gave me change. And I went back home and I returned it to my dad, say, here's the change, here's what I bought. So my father say, okay, this is too much. I didn't give you that, I give you less. So go back to the store owner and tell him that he had given you too much money. So I did that. I went back, very happy, Okay, and I talked to him, very shy. I said, you give me too much change. My father only gave me this amount. And then he said, okay, let me check. So he opened his own cash register, whatever they have in those days. He checked into his bills and he said, no, you give me a higher amount and you get the right change. So I was confused because my father was sure that he gave me this amount less, and this guy is sure that he got more. So I'm going back home, which is like about a block and a half away. And, I live with fears. So I was afraid to tell my father he was wrong. But at the same time, I thought a solution if he think he gave me less, and this guy thought he gave me more, okay, I won't try to talk to Daddy about this anymore, and I did that. The question was what I do with the extra money, okay, and a temptation came along. Okay, maybe I should hide it, maybe I should throw it away, because I was afraid to confront my father. I don't think he was going to punish me for telling him, Daddy, you're wrong, okay, about what you think you sent me with. But I was afraid. No, it didn't make any sense. But nevertheless, the point is that I did not return the money to neither the owner, after he gave me his explanation why he was not taking the extra, or my father. It appeared to be, very innocent, as a kid. I put the money somewhere hiding, but I felt this horrible feeling, horrible, feeling of guilt, because while I was doing that, I thought, okay, everything's going to go away, and maybe I can have an ice cream. We didn't have those things back then. No, we actually, as a little kid, we didn't have much more than what you could eat, and there was not enough extra home. I did keep the money, and one day I had the temptation to actually buy ice cream. Okay, but it passed a few days, and I had this turmoil internal. Man, I couldn't believe, but I didn't want to think about this. But at the same time, I was fantasizing with the money. What could I do, no? These ice creams, taste really good to my taste just to think of. But every time I thought about it, it just felt like bad, no? So I thought, okay, now it's worse. It's been like a few days. If I go back with the money to my father, he's going to really punish me. And in those days, it was physical punishment. So I didn't want to risk that. If I go to the man, he was going to tell my father that I told him 4 days later. And he wouldn't know anyway, so he's going to, so I was really confused myself. And a few days later, so I thought, okay, today I'm going to walk by the supermarket from the school, from this ice cream place, and I should bring some of the money that I had. And I did that. Took it with me, and man, it took me a few minutes outside the place, because I know I was going to go into a horrible place in my life. Now I was going to be a criminal. So not only I took the money, now I'm going to spend it, which makes me pretty much worse. But finally I buy the ice cream. I taste it. It tastes really delicious. But the feeling that I had, it was unbearable. So I took the money, I threw it into the garbage can that was close. I licked the ice cream and I threw the ice cream. Okay, and I ran. And I thought everybody was chasing me. I thought my life was ending. Okay, the point is not about the ice cream, because still is, or the money, because still I was a very young boy. But this thing, it really bothered me for a while. Okay, because later on, when you go through life and there is some other different challenges or different wrong choices that you make, the memories, the pain associated with this decision in the past, they always arise. Even though it wasn't related, it's not like I was taking money again or not telling my father again about something, but it arises, And one occasion I was with grandma, and I was so thirsty. I was helping working, and then I was thirsty, and I knew that the owner of the store in the corner, he always give grandma some credit to get some groceries. And I was there standing up, and the man say, "Oh, your grandma asked you to come and get some stuff?" I say, "Yes." And I got a Pepsi Cola, and I drank it. Okay. Oh my goodness, again, everything kind of add up to my feelings of feeling that way. But But why I bring this something that appears innocent? No, it is because we are walking through life, with experiences and chances to make choices. Okay, and of course, if we don't comprehend and we don't know how to really kind of deal with those events associated with emotions, the choices, it can build up and it can be even bigger than what really is. Okay, I don't think I was a criminal, but I felt like a criminal for many years. Yeah, I was like, and I never did that again, but still, I felt that there was something there, and of course I keep it really secret. I don't want to be vulnerable with this because, especially my siblings, somebody's going to sneak into my mom or dad and I'm going to have a real spank, okay, one of those big ones. But I bring, as I say, this little event because it built up to something that eventually it was kind of affecting the enjoyment of my life. So that's one of the many things I had to really forgive myself about it.
So let me ask you something, because it's interesting because I did not know what experience you were going to share. And it's true that when I hear that, or when anyone might hear that, they might think that's innocent. That's a very mild experience. That I mean, like it's no worry, like no worries.
I've done worse things than that.
And so, but what's interesting, what's coming to mind, and I think you're alluding to this. So tell me if I'm wrong. But even those little things that we do, like buying an ice cream with money we shouldn't use, or taking, drinking a Coke or Pepsi with, again, money that's not ours. Those little things, when we don't forgive ourselves for them, we don't reconcile them, they compound over time. And as I'm even reflecting on this in my own life right now, as I'm talking about this, I'm realizing that the things that were harder for me to forgive about myself, or things that I did, it wasn't necessarily the thing itself as much as the compounding of years of unresolved, I guess, experiences I had not forgiven myself for. Is that correct in saying?
That's correct. And, they are the little things that happens at a given time in our life. And of course the process of the mistakes are all the same. It doesn't matter if you live in China or you live in Africa or you grew up as a rich man or a poor person or you're a doctor. So we all humans experience guilt. Okay? And guilt is not bad. It's an emotion. No, it's an emotion that the body kind of, it's been triggered by something that happened that brings the memory. And then these memories are embedded into our nervous system. So then we don't have to even think about it. I mean, maybe you or the audience, by just listening to what I'm saying, that's enough to trigger our own or your own situations or stuff you got to deal with. So we all do that. No, and that's healthy. So if I feel that is healthy. If you don't feel that, that's a problem. Okay. It's healthy to feel guilt. Okay. All right. Now, guilt is not the same as shame. No. Guilt is just a big door that opens for an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to improve, to amend, to learn. It's not a place, where you're supposed to be burning on fire. You don't feel like that. But the burning part is not because of the guilt. The burning part, or the feelings that comes stronger, is because we don't take the steps, the necessary steps, to deal with that so we can learn. Okay? And there is various reasons. One is we're afraid. In my case, I was afraid, even though I want to do the right things, I'm going to be punished. Okay? And of course, we when we are kids, or we are young or unexperienced or not mature enough, or not wise enough, or we don't use our wise mind, we amplify the problems. We make it so big, which is not true, no? So we amplify the problem. And I was amplifying it, okay? Perhaps, who knows? Maybe my father was going to spank me. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he was going to see me in the lap and say, hey, well done. Or maybe he might get upset and say, well, you didn't tell me a second ago. Okay, who knows? But in that mind that was not mature yet, I didn't know life. I didn't know my father, 100%. So, and perhaps some fears, kind of holds us. And fears is not good because now I'm afraid of what other people will think. And that is the danger path we walk.
And that's when we have shame.
Shame.
When we're too worried about what other people
Yes, and it's
are going to
just
think of us.
that's like hell. Oh, that's just burn. I felt like that every time I saw my father. I kind of had to adopt to and make some coping mechanism so he doesn't read through my eyes that I have not done the right thing or do the right things. So I was afraid. And from that, we do other things. We're trying to avoid connection. We're trying to avoid the other person. Or we can use some strategies to assure that we create some distractions. so we don't have to confront our own feelings. But as I say, guilt is not bad. It's not a place where we're going to lose opportunities. No, it's actually a place of growing. And holding it, because to amend or make the changes, it can vary. It goes anywhere from being afraid of not being loved or being criticized, and sometimes, mind that's compared with others, will, or the wrong idea that nobody else made mistakes. Oh my God, that's the worst. Because now, I got 10 siblings, and if my stuff come out to the surface, I'm the criminal. And everybody else is going to be, and my life is dumb. No. So those ideas push us, towards not amending. Okay. And that is, it creates so many problems. We cannot have joy in our life. And of course, life, it has its challenges, but we're not supposed to really be in the place where we feel uncomfortable in our own skin. And because if we feel uncomfortable, we can be angry against myself. And of course, if I'm angry against myself, I'm going to display with you by maybe getting upset with you or being, short-circuit, or perhaps manipulating you, or controlling you, or maybe avoiding you, disconnect with you. No. And that can put me in a place where I can feel that I cannot be lovable. Because in my mind, I'm the only criminal. All my siblings are okay. I'm the bad guy. Okay? And of course, it's just not true. No. See, this is something that we do that we need to learn to forgive ourselves. And I'm not talking about what happened then, because I don't understand everything else related to the way how I function as a 9-year-old kid, because there's so many things that are related to my childhood that I never know. But the one thing is about not moving towards the amending part. That's the one part I need to forgive myself and let that extend it for a time and allow other experience that could be really dealt with to accumulate and make something that makes my body suffer and perhaps, affecting enjoying life, which I deserve it. So that's the part I have to forgive myself. And I need to learn how to do that, but it's important to do it.
It's interesting because you said earlier how when we're having the hard time forgiving ourselves, oftentimes, especially when we're feeling shame, we worry about, oh, what will my wife think? That if I tell her that I did this, what will my brother think? What will my dad think? And in my experience, the when we actually do try to amend and let people know, hey, I'm sorry I did this or I did this, just so you know, more often than not, it actually becomes a very good experience. We might be afraid, like, oh my gosh, my wife is going to hate me, she's going to divorce me, which, while there are certain scenarios where maybe that
That would be the
that
case.
might be the
Yeah.
case, you know, and something much more severe, I think we can say that most of us are not dealing with those severe issues day to day. And most of the time, the amending part of forgiving ourselves is actually a much better experience than we think.
Well, imagine, no? Now we talk about forgiving each other, and now it has to do about another person, no? And then, of course, there is the conversation, no, about the wrong or the mistake or whatever I haven't done that I'm supposed to do, no. Yeah, it's natural that the other person will be accountable. That's okay. But then, from the point, as you say, something happened, no, where actually together now we can, work, you by placing boundaries. So, I respect whatever it is and make an agreement that I'm not going to do that anymore. But the love increases when this thing happens. When it happened to ourselves, no. Of course, I got to look back and say, it wasn't right that I took money that was mine. And I don't know who it was, my father or the owner of the store. Who belongs to, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the fact is that I make the wrong choice, and I had to be very clear about it. But this doesn't mean that I had to come out with these beliefs that I'm bad, okay? Because, as a kid and as a young person or adult, we hear too many of these things. You're bad because you make a mistake. That's not true. I make a mistake, I'm not a mistake. And we have to be very clear. I'm still lovable, okay? I'm still a good person. Perhaps I have these challenges, these flaws, but I can recognize it, no? And I can see that I'm moving to improve. Okay, so that's the part thing, no. So this forgiving ourselves, it has to do with understanding that I, whoever I think I am, no, that includes my body, my mind, my soul, my spirit, deserve happiness. Okay, and my decision that was not correct at the time, it produced inflict some pain into my body, inflict some pain to my mind, and inflict some pain to my soul. No, so now I have to really, uh, amend. And of course, my body doesn't need anything, doesn't need money, doesn't need, but only that I really comprehend this. So everything can go back to homeostasis, to balance. So, and how I do that? First, I had to, as I say, recognize it was not a good choice. But I'm also a good person. I'm not a person. I'm not a bad person. I don't represent this mistake, which is one of the things problematic. Because some of the ideas and beliefs that we learn through our childhood is about, you're bad, this is good. If you do this, you're bad, which is not true. Okay, if you do this, you just make a mistake. That's what it is. Okay, you don't represent this. And then the other teaching, is, hey, there is consequences, son, or whoever is doing the teaching. Okay, but you're a good person. And the consequences, you're going to feel it. And we're supposed to be taught. You're going to feel it in your body. There's also pain that your decision perhaps created somebody. And that person is valuable too. And then we have to be taught, how we can be empathetic enough to understand the pain of the other person for the choice we make or the thing we didn't do, supposed to do. So we have to be empathetic. This process of teaching, what it really engulfs all this, it is so important because we learn empathy now. See, hey, even though perhaps my father didn't miss that change or the owner of the store, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter because in some ways it is something that I did that I'm supposed to do. That creates a little bit of some kind of something in somebody. So I had to be empathetic, which means not necessarily that I had to stay there, for 30 years thinking, oh my goodness, the owner of the store missed $1 and who knows, now he's broke and he lives somewhere in an island by himself because he got a divorce because of $1. That I don't mean that. I mean it's just feeling and then move to compassion. So this is what you do, The compassion part is where I do something to alleviate the pain of the other person. George, I don't have the dollar, but I can work till I can pay the dollar. Okay. I don't have the dollar now, but look, I got this phone. Will you take it for the dollar? No, whatever we can do. Or maybe, George, I'm never going to be able to pay you. Okay. But, I'm here if you need me. Whatever it is. Because maybe George doesn't need a dollar, but the fact that I have encountered and really faced this, it helps everybody. So it helps with healing because I'm teaching the other person through my behavior that there is hope for this world, that we are good people. Okay. And I also helping this person to go home and help with the healing of his family. So this is why we do these things. So compassion is critical. It moves me to do the things that will help alleviate the pain or whatever it is that happened through my decisions. So when it comes to self-forgiveness, it is the same. But now it's a little bit more tricky and complicated because we inflict the pain ourselves by the beliefs. No, you're not good. You're this thing. You're never going to change. People won't love you. If I would do this before, I should have done this. So repeating this in these conversations, turns this system of the mind, which is, recorded by the nervous system and the brain, it turns it into something that comes against us. This self-critic, no. I mean, it's going to be everywhere. Tomorrow I have nothing related to what happened 55 years ago, and it's going to emerge. So that forgiveness, it creates the healing part. So, I'm, first I know that I was wrong, but I'm not I'm not a bad person. Then I recognize if it was a flaw, okay, there's a flaw there. I see that I was afraid of Father, that he's going to punish me, okay. So I know there is a fear there. And then I also, see other things. And then I move to empathy. Because if I just notice this finally, and I say, okay, 10 years later, or 2 months later, or 100 years later, I have placed my body into a lack of opportunity to feel joy. Because I have put my body in a place where the body has to really try to help me and put chemicals of stress, to bring me back, to the right place. And I have to be, feeling that, okay. And then of course I also have to be compassionate. Compassion toward myself means I look back and I say, okay, this thing that happened, okay, if I can recognize if a mistake or a flaw or a weaknesses or intentionally I did it then, no. So I need to not justify myself, but also compassion means that I can really see clearly now that I have a mind that's more mature, say, based on my lack of knowledge or the mindset I was at that time, perhaps I was trying to do the best. It was wrong, okay, but not a bad person. And that's a compassionate part. So we honor, okay, not the choice, but we honor the fact, that we actually, my body's been trying to help me, okay? And even though maybe I didn't see, I didn't notice, I still kind of took another turn instead of really following what's going to help me. I have to be compassionate about myself, okay? Because if I'm not compassionate about myself, then, a lot of more pain and shame comes along the way. So that's part of that self-forgiveness.
Yeah. And, I appreciate, as you pointed out, what, how we thought, how we behaved 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even potentially yesterday, might not be how we actually are today. Our mindsets, our thoughts, our behaviors can change based on new experiences, based on new information. We might realize that, hey, the way I was treating my daughter is not the best. We might learn that today. And so tomorrow we're a little bit of a better parent. And so, yeah, having that compassion of, I would say, almost seeing yourself as you would your own child, seeing how they're still learning. And just like when you see your 5-month old, 6-month, however old they are, your child learning to walk, you're not going to criticize them when they fall down. You're going to be so excited. At least I know I was so excited just seeing them make little strides, little progression bit by bit. Just like, oh my gosh, they walked 2 steps instead of 1. And sometimes we don't have that compassion with ourselves of, you were just learning to walk yesterday. You took 2 more steps today. You took 2 more steps towards being a better father, 2 more steps towards being a better husband, a better employee, a better citizen, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so having that compassion, yes, it's so essential. I mean, I can remember I used to be incredibly hard on myself. And I know that now that I've done some work on myself, that a lot of that was coming from a lack of compassion, which really was rooted in I, going back to what we were talking about earlier, but I identified more with my mistakes, and not just identified with them, but also didn't think I could actually change. And if I made a mistake, it was, oh, I am this mistake. Even though I didn't consciously think that's what was going on in the back of my mind.
It seems like if when we make a mistake, no, if we don't move into the amending part, okay, there is this activation of some of the cognition, that actually trying to help us, and we misperceive it. No, so that's why the pain associated with guilt is there. No, there is a pain. Okay, no doubt there is a pain. It's transient if we amend it and we take care of, it won't last. So we try to avoid it, and you can go either way. We can go and say, okay, I can justify and just reasoning about it. No, these people have money. My father didn't notice that, he thought it was less, or I need it, or the ice cream is so good in my mind. So whatever it is, or I don't have any I deserve. I feel like entitled. So whatever it is, this is just, a way how we trying to justify, walking away from the responsibility to amend. And you know what? It works well because this, temporary. It doesn't really fix anything because this train of thoughts, it produces chemicals in the brain, dopamine. Okay, so our body recognizes dopamine. So now the suffering goes down a little bit. No, so I'm in the feeling of guilt. Suddenly I start reasoning. Okay, he doesn't need it. Boom, dopamine. The brain produces dopamine, so I don't feel the pain and guilt. it drops, but of course doesn't last because the body will push again, and we think this, so emotion comes back again. So now, okay, this idea doesn't, okay, so we start entangling new ideas, to ensure that we sustain and stay in a place where we don't feel the pain. We succeed temporarily. Okay, our body end up being saying, okay, this takes too much energy. This kid has to go to school. It needs to do things and grow up. Okay, so the brain does record the information in memories of emotions. It records it. Okay, so very intelligent way how this body works. Okay, doesn't mean we're at the hook. It means okay, kid, just you need to sleep. No, can't suffer much, but the pain's gonna be recorded. And what it does, in the future, when I'm encountering new experiences, maybe not related, that interaction, it will produce an stimulus on the nervous system, and the interaction could be through hearing, seeing, smelling, whatever it is, and these memories that are being condensed in the nervous system will emerge. Okay, that's when we feel uncomfortable again inside, and we don't understand, no. And of course, there's another thing that comes along the way. Eventually, I hate myself. I hate because deep inside, in my subconsciously, I know that there's something there that's related to a responsibility I have that I'm supposed to be dealing with. But I don't remember in details. And then if you were the one that says something that stimulates these emotions, I may blame it on you and get angry with you and maybe throw my pain into you, thinking that's going to work. And it just won't work. No. So you can see this is a mechanism that sooner or later will put it back again to the place where, okay, it's time to amend. And it's not a punishment, really. Yeah, we are the one that punish ourselves. You mentioned something, we call ourselves that thing, and because we have not amended 20 years ago, 2 years ago, we become more hard on ourselves. Okay, and we identify ourselves with that experience as if that's who we are, and that is just very conflicting for our body and our mind, because it's not truth. And anything that's not truth, it's always going to bring more stress. Always going to be, some higher level of pain and perhaps suffering. So that's what we need to understand. And of course, it takes a little bit of maturing emotionally, understanding this thing, and get out of the lie, because I don't know who invented these things. I don't think I did invent that I was a bad kid. I don't think at my age I'd say, okay, it's just notions and information that in a way, they go to the extremes, okay? Where the other contexts of life and experience are not being taught, are not being explained to a young person, a little kid. So the kid can actually see and understand, okay, this is painful and it's wrong, and I have to amend. And it's not me, okay? And of course, we need practice that, and finally we get it. No. But we go the other way around. We go the other route, where the suffering is what we're creating in ourselves. And over time and years, we affect others and keep affecting ourselves. I don't know if that
no, that
complicated the way I explained that.
No, I mean, at least I understood it. Hopefully the audience understood. But, I just, especially for those out there listening, something that I think we just don't hear enough is you are not a bad person. You just made a mistake. That's it. Obviously, the mistake has to be reconciled, has to be corrected, especially if it hurts someone else. But you are not a bad person. And I think, from my observations, a lot of people have a very poor relationship with mistakes. They identify with their mistakes subconsciously, not that they're like, oh yeah, I stole something, I must be a thief now.
But you know, the other problem is we don't want to see it. We keep it in a chamber of. It's like if I put a soul in a chamber that's doom and it's dark and it's cold and it's lonely, but on the outside, you know, we tell everybody everything's fine. No, I'm just this amazing guy that's enjoying life. But we have to deal with this because the happiness of our children, our family, ourselves, the environment we create depends on this. So we have to free ourselves from that place where all these ideas, of I'm a bad person. I must be, and in that place, unfortunately, we cannot move from the place. We repeat the mistake. And we repeat it again. And it's not because we're a bad person, but it's because we don't know that this freedom that comes, from reconciling and amending, it's in our hand. And the other part is we don't want the discomfort because there is discomfort. I mean, it's not forever, but it's a discomfort. I didn't want the discomfort to go to Daddy and say, Daddy, I think it's your money. It could be a discomfort, maybe, but it was my idea. And even if my father was going to punish me, whatever it is, it's a short time. That doesn't last forever. But I allowed this suffering to go for a few years.
Yeah, what might have been even a potential punishment might have lasted this long, but then we make it the actual suffering last this long.
Oh man, it took me a few years, but that thing kind of snowballed to other, feelings of pain. And I was just in that place many times in my mind thinking, what happened then, it was so bad, but I'm so bad, I'm not a good person. Okay, and of course I keep it hiding. Eventually I kind of share this with, my wife, and I told her, honey, this is what I did. And she was actually, look at me and say, you just were a kid that didn't know, and you kind of put yourself a label, okay, that didn't belong to you. Of course it was wrong, but hey, whatever was the reason. But it just gave me a glimpse of understanding a little bit more of, what life is, and this understanding of mistakes is so critical. We're going to keep making mistakes. No, that's no doubt. We all do that.
I think it was about a week or two ago. Something I'm trying to work on is being a better dad, which I think I'm going to be working on until I die. But I don't remember what I did. Maybe I yelled at my children. I don't remember what it was, but something happened where I'm just going to say I yelled. That's probably what happened. And later I went and apologized to my kids, and my 6-year-old Celeste. She just looks at me and says, "Daddy, it's okay. You're still learning."
And there's a wise little kid there.
Uh-huh.
So,
but it's true. As as a dad, as a person, I am still learning. And while I don't want to lose my patience with my kids, it's still something I'm working on, and I feel like I am better than I was 6 months ago, a year ago, and bit by bit, I just keep learning. And when I make those mistakes, reconcile them with my kids, and then just keep learning, keep getting better.
Yeah, the other part in our life is that when the mistakes come, reconciling is good, but that doesn't mean that necessarily the other person will accept your apologies. Doesn't mean the other person will kind of come and embrace you and say, "Oh, what a hero! You did the right things. Thank you." No, let me put you on a pedestal. It won't happen probably because he's another human. No? Another human that will feel the pain of the neglect or the mistake. And we don't know where the person is either. It could be in the process of learning. Who knows? Maybe ahead of us, maybe a little behind, maybe whatever it is. So when we do this reconciliation, amending, okay, we do it because it's the right thing to do, because it frees us. And we don't have to have an expectation that, hey, this is going to make me a hero, no? Because if I fix it, no, because in some cases it will be a response like the one from my granddaughter, your daughter. Daddy, you're still learning. And super, no? Wisdom comes and you, oops, okay, this is great. Or sometimes it could be a person that will be upset still and choose at this moment not to forgive. Okay? Or a person that perhaps is the mindset or the state of mind at the moment, it'll be in a place where you're trying to reconcile and may even, say things that perhaps they don't come to, to the case. And we're afraid of that. For some reason we're afraid of that, but of course we cannot predict how people respond because it varies, Somebody that might be your best friend, you talk to him in the day that he haven't slept. He's probably not going to be in the best mood, or your spouse. So, but if it's not the right moment to speak, we have to wait until the right moment. Or if the person is not willing to actually forgive, it's okay. You have to really respect that. No, you have to honor. We have to honor what is happening in other people's life. We're doing what we ought to do to ensure that we keep moving, freeing ourselves from the state, because that's going to give us joy. I mean, maybe my father will never speak to me anymore. Maybe he's going to put something in the paper saying, I am a criminal. I mean, it won't happen that. But anyway, the point is, it just doesn't matter. Okay? I mean, not that the person won't matter because we still have a relationship of love.
But for our personal peace, it doesn't matter how they react.
And we have to give space and time to the other person, and honor the other person's decisions, because we're on this together. It's just something that we have to start learning and figure out this, because for some reason, our ancestors, they probably had the best of intentions to help us by coming out with these ideas and beliefs. Who knows? Maybe it was because they want us to be a better people, but sometimes shame, controlling, and punishment was used as a way of teaching, which is the even proof through centuries that is not the way to do it, because it creates the problem the world lives in this moment. And this had to be, correct within our own self and then extended to our families.
Yeah. To wrap up, let's go over what would you say if someone says, okay, give me the steps. How do I forgive myself? What will give me the 60 seconds? How do I forgive myself? What would you tell them?
Well, first I'd say it's a process. Okay, that not necessarily will happen in 1 hour or 1 second. Some things that we can reconcile can take seconds. It depends on various factors, and of course, health play a role too, mental health. But anyways, here's what I would do. Confront what happened. That doesn't mean fight with that. No, it means like act like if you are a third party there. You observe. So, and this is what I do. I go back on time, look at that, okay, and I will probably look at the behavior and say, okay, this behavior, okay, it was not going to produce or didn't produce, the best result for me at the time. Okay, So it was a choice that, so I had to be clear with that. No. So, and then the next thing is, okay, what can I do to amend? So the amending part includes, in this case for me, remember that I have put this body in a place that it shouldn't be. Okay, all those nights that I didn't sleep because of whatever it is, or I probably didn't eat because I was under stress, or eat too much because I was under stress, because I carried that pain. So be empathetic with that part. So respectful, because here's where I live, in this physical body. So I go and I visualize myself and whatever case, okay, and I say, okay, that, it didn't create the best results for my joy and happiness, okay? And then I go and say, okay, this is something that I wouldn't do, and I can see the pain in the body. Okay, then I move to compassion. The compassion part is I need to lift whatever pain is in there. So I need to lift it. And this is when I free myself from. Okay, what can I do to free? Okay, well, my father passed away. I don't know where the store owner lives. Okay, I don't even know where to bring the money to. So there's not much I can do about it. But then the compassion part is when I can actually, with intention say, if I could, okay, I would bring the money to the people I need to bring it to. But at this point, it's no sense to think about that. Okay, then these compassions includes, okay, that I'm going to actually accept the fact that at that moment, okay, I actually was perhaps trying to do the best, based on the lack of knowledge, based on the limited information, based the immature mind, the mind that was not at the point of being wise, no, but I was doing the best I could. Okay, so is there any controversy between the fact that it was a choice that was not the best for me and thinking that I was perhaps doing the best? No, because literally when somebody doesn't have the information and make a mistake based on limited information or a moment of blindness, that doesn't make him a criminal. No. Imagine, for example, you are driving a car and somebody gave you a blind spot and you suddenly move and produce an accident. No, are you a bad person? No, say somebody's in the blind spot. Okay, and that's what happened with us. If we're in the wrong place in our mind because we're that maybe worry too much or we're so perfectionist, so maybe that is what's happening at the moment. So literally, I cannot punish somebody that is in that place. So how could I punish myself and kind of label myself into a person that is somebody that's bad, is trying to harm, because that's not true. Okay, and nobody is trying to harm anybody when he's trying to learn. When these situations come, nobody is. Okay, that we make poor choices, of course we do. No, that we make those mistakes, of course. Sometimes certain tendencies are there that we need to be aware and work with those. Okay, sometimes it's fears, like the fears of, oh, that is going to punish me if I bring this back. No, oh, that guy in the store looks so serious that he's going to, when I go back with the money, say, hey, you stupid kid, what are you thinking? I already talked to you. Because that's the way how it used to talk. So, so whatever it is that happened. So here I am. I mean, not an innocent kid that is super and a saint. I'm not saying that. Because still is a kid with flaws and weaknesses and whatever it may. So we have to really, really see with empathy, with kindness. So when you look back, that experience, it had to be kindness. Okay, and it had to honor me at the time. Okay, because there's a lot of intelligence in my body. There's a lot of stuff that are good and goodness. So I had to honor this. I can put a label, like saying stupid or, criminal or poor or whatever it is. This label thing is like putting the entire body and soul into a place that is wrong. Okay, so I gotta be, in my mind, forgiving for doing that, forgiving myself for doing that. Okay, I put this innocent boy, 9 years old, in a cave, in a place that's cold and is lonely. Okay, and you know what? If I did that, I had to forgive myself for that. Okay, and I did it then because I didn't see it. Okay, this kid wants to enjoy life, aspirations. And perhaps I limit some of those, perhaps. So now I have to forgive myself for that. And it's just a beautiful experience that allows us to step up to the plate. And if we don't learn the first time, it's fine. No, that's the other part I got to tell the audience here. This is not something that will happen perhaps the first time you try, because it's very complex, this. So much we repeat stories and beliefs, and we got engraved information from our childhood or whatever we learned through culturally or society, that we have to be patient and be aware and work with this, little by little till you get free.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And with what you just said, it reminds me a bit of what we talked about last time with forgiving our fathers and forgiving others, how that can be a process. Like, you might have forgiven someone, but then, I guess staying with the topic of today, you might forgive yourself. You might be able to free yourself of that pain, but then there's still the process of developing that better relationship with yourself, developing the way of thinking that you are not your mistakes. That there's still going to be a process. It's not going to be something where you're just listen to this and like, okay, I forgive myself, I'm good.
and it's no, seminar, conference, motivation that can do that. This is a process we all need to learn to do. And we can start with the little things. I mean, don't go to a complex situation. If you haven't practiced this, start with the little things. No. Today, I'm supposed to feed the dogs. I didn't do it. I was conscious about it. And you can just forgive yourself about that. Okay? It was not a good choice because these animals, I promised, take care of them. And they are my friends too, in a way. They are my pets. Okay, I can now look back and say, okay, this was not the best choice, but I'm a good owner of this pet. I love him. We play. Okay, I'm gonna amend it. When I go home, I'm gonna give him extra time. I'm gonna walk him probably and play with him, and promise myself that the next time I have the temptation not to feed them, okay, I'm going to stop myself from that habit. Or perhaps, maybe I need to plan a little bit ahead of time, maybe sleep a little early so I can wake up on time and kind of give in the extra 10, 15 minutes to the dog, to the pet. So we can do many things. You just look at the behavior, and if you repeat the same behavior, that's okay. Okay, don't punish yourself. Just go back and say, okay, next time, okay, I'm going to prevent it. I'm going to maybe not watch the movie I like to watch every night. Maybe I should probably cut a little shorter so I can sleep. I can have the extra 15 minutes. So, and if we do this, we might fail the first, second time, but eventually as we repeat it, in these good intentions, we move into correct, and amend the things that have to be amended. So little things first, and then the hardest part, we move forward. No, so there may be mistakes we don't want to see it. No, because we all have those kind of mistakes. We say, "Oh my goodness, did I do that?" And you just want to close your eyes and don't look at it, turn your back. That doesn't help. But wait to practice a little bit at a time, the little things, and then eventually, you can go to, these other bigger issues and challenges and problems that we create to ourselves, to move into the place of forgiving those, major problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess my last thought I want to share on this is just from experience. The more we practice that accountability with that compassion, the easier it becomes to forgive yourself. Over time, as you do that over and over and over again, I know for myself it was awkward and hard in the beginning, but then it just becomes easier. Like kind of like how we started this episode talking about how I didn't realize the mic was not recording. Where a year ago, that I might have been thinking about that for hours, maybe days. It took me a few seconds, and I was like, okay, it's okay, we can figure it out.
Yeah, the practice. As with you said it, as we practice, it becomes easier and easier. There were some things I was so hard on myself years ago that, as you said it, I linger. I didn't show it because I was not trying to be vulnerable to anyone, but it was there. No. In these practices, it helps. Okay, there is an issue. I can deal with that. No, it's not a big problem. Let's confront it. Let's just fix it. Let's take care of it. We learn it. If we commit the same mistakes, okay, what I do the next time to prevent it, how I can remind myself that this thing is not going to be do well in the next recording. No? So you just kind of work around these things and working with patience, because that's another thing people really have a problem with is and because there is other beliefs, we compare ourselves too much, that I must have this fixed now. I must do it right because look at the neighbor. He already have a boat.
That might have to be another episode as well.
Yeah, had a boat. It has this, and then we become really hard on ourselves because we want this thing to work the first time or the second time, and if we don't see it fixed on the first, second, and third time, that's when we put the big labels. We make it bigger. No. I'm this, and it's just the self-critic comes, and just, these memories comes associated with shame, and it holds us back from really improve, and some of these flaws or weaknesses continue being repeated.
To wrap up, I do want to go over some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Okay, so just short answers as we go through this. A few last questions. Just to let the audience get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay, sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what was your favorite TV show growing up?
Oh, TV show. I like Superman. Okay. It wasn't every day. It was once a week, but we didn't have a TV early, but I could go and sneak into the neighbor's window and watch. When we had one, oh my goodness, that was so cool. But of course, it was once a week.
Uh-huh. And why did you like Superman?
His strength. He was kind. He was. I want to be like Superman. When I was little, it was his strength. He was a protector. No.
What was your favorite meal growing up?
I like rice and lentils.
Hey, that's what you fed us all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see. It came from nowhere. Rice and lentils. And, it was. I don't think it was about the rice and the lentils. I think it was because the moment when Mom was making one of those, first time I'm aware, she was happy and we were connected, I think, as a little kid. And perhaps, that created that connection, to my taste bud. So, and it brings a sense of comfort, and protection. So when this happens, the brain does something amazing with the food. It just makes it taste better.
Oh my goodness. Have you seen Ratatouille? The Disney movie Ratatouille?
No.
Okay, I might have to show you this scene later. But there's a part where a food critic is eating something that his mother used to eat. And it shows him suddenly, because this critic is, I don't know, maybe in his 50s,
Oh yeah,
60s.
I watched a movie. Yeah, I remember.
It's like he gets transported back to being a kid.
Time.
And him getting hurt and his mother feeding him the same dish. So that's what it reminded me of. Okay, now this is kind of a funny question considering our topic from today. But what is the dumbest thing you did as a kid?
Oh. Okay, I was going to the pool because I was trying to be in the team for the school. Probably was 13 years old. And I put my clothing in the back of this little building, and we didn't have all this dressing room, so there was busy, so I hide behind, and I put my swimsuit, and hang my clothes right by the trees, did my practice, went back, and I did dress up, and there was bees.
Oh no!
In my pants, in my shirt, a lot of them, and I think because I had eaten maybe candy or had something there that I left for after swimming because I need a little sugar.
Uh-huh.
And I started dressing, and I was happy because I had practiced, and suddenly I have felt all this thing that pinched me all over the place. I ran to the pool, okay, and jump into the water. So it was dumb to put my clothes. When I get there, you learn your lessons.
Yeah, you have to show some self-compassion there. What's something from this week that you're grateful for?
A new baby born, this week in our family. It's a granddaughter. There is seeing my another daughter had a baby, the way how deal with love towards that little one, see the smile on the baby. My wife, your mom, okay, who is tender, in moments when, I go through challenges, I've been going through some challenges for the past 2 months, but that tender approach, okay, mountains around, it just made me feel like awesome. Being with you in this program, it's so many things that I just kind of overcome all the other challenges of life. I mean, challenges don't disappear, but it's just this interaction, and I'm very grateful for that. I don't think that can be replaced for anything. The other children I talk to and look at the smile of one kid, the one grandkid, your girls, I mean, I think they adore me. I think they think I'm superhero. They don't know that I'm not, but I adore them too. And seeing all the other grandkids and kids, when I talk to them, I've not always had this, the same level of enthusiasm because, I'm also learning, okay? But no doubt that I do a lot of reflection about the experiences that come along the way through the day. So this week has been like super.
So what's something you've learned this week?
I learned that I'm a good person. I learned that the life will always provide opportunities for growth. They're painful some, but that you can, even then, you can still have joy. This is something that I couldn't say, years ago. Or it's joy or there's none. If you have problems, you cannot have joy. You have to really focus, put your attention on solving it, which is important. Okay, but during the time I was solving it, I suffer, you know, but that's something I learned so much. In the midst of this, yeah, there's a problem. I'm not negligent. I go solving it, but I'm enjoying, life as it goes.
And last question. Do you like being in your 60s?
I love being in my 60s.
Why?
I feel energetic. I think I'm learning quite a few things. Okay. I like the fact that I can see things differently now. I mean, not that I could not see before, but some of the tendencies, that I have overcome, which is kind of freedom from some things that I always want to work with. And I think in this time it's just, I see things in a more profound way. I don't know if my 60s or it's probably the fact that I've been growing steadily for the past 20 years in terms of learning about life and how to interact and how to really see inside myself, feel other people, learning how to be assertive. So this is what it does, and the energy and also I still feel like romantic and with your mom, a friend of her. So I'm looking forward for many more years. Hopefully I can have this energy and the ability to pass information to others and help.
Good to hear. Yeah, stay energetic because we need to get to at least 100 episodes.
Good.
All right, Dad. Well, thank you so much for
everybody.
the episode. This was fun.
Thank you. It's fun too. I enjoy doing this with you.
Me too.